Hi guys, so this lesson is adding fractions with related denominators. You're probably going to want to write these 5 steps down. To have time to do that, you might want to pause the video and get some paper and a pencil so you can write this down. Step number 1 is to check to see if your denominators are related. So let's write a problem where you might need this. Oops. Here we go. All right, so let's say we're looking at this problem. Step number 1 is to see if my denominators are related. Denominators are related if one of the denominators, remember we're talking about these numbers right here, if one of these denominators is a multiple of the other, then the denominators are related. So I'm looking at a 3 and a 12, and I know my multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So yes, 12 is a multiple of 3. So that means my denominators are related. Go ahead and erase this. Okay, so that was step number 1. Step number 2 is to rewrite the problem using the higher denominator. In this case, my higher denominator is the 12. So I'm going to rewrite, and I'm going to use 12 as the denominator. So I'm going to have a fraction that is 12ths plus a fraction that is 12ths. And I know that this fraction isn't going to change because it's already 5 twelfths, and 5 twelfths equals 5 twelfths. 1/3 has to be rewritten into twelfths. So you might remember the circle diagrams from stepping stones. Okay, so we would think about the relationship between the 3 and the 12, and the relationship is 3 times 4. So we take that relationship and we use it up here at the 1. The relationship there needs to be a times 4. 1 times 4 is 4. So that means that this numerator here is a 4. Okay, so let's see. I have converted the fraction with the lower denominator to the higher denominator. That means I've converted 1/3 to 4 twelfths. Okay, so I have rewritten the problem with the new equivalent fraction, and now I'm going to add the numerators and keep the denominator for the answer. Numerators, remember, are the top ones. So 4 plus 5 is 9. And then we keep the denominator because that's our units, and our twelfths isn't going to change once we add our pieces together. Okay, so that's the basic gist of what you're going to be doing today. Let me go ahead and go to the next page. That didn't work. Let's see. Ooh, my very first recording. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and erase everything. Okay. So now we're looking at our stepping stones assignment page. At least I am. Just kidding. All right, so for the step in, it says these pizzas were left over at a party. Okay, so we've got a very veggie, a mostly meat, and a super supreme. So I'm going to go ahead and write the fraction of each piece of pizza that is left over. So the very veggie has 1/6 of a pizza left. The mostly meat has 1/3 of a pizza left. And the super supreme has 5. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I know that that's 5/12. Okay. So I'm going to look here at these combinations because it says we're going to choose 2 types of pizza to take home and what are the possible combinations. So I could take home a mostly meat and a very veggie, and that would be represented in this first problem. Okay, if I took home a super supreme and a very veggie, I would be talking about this second problem. And if I was taking home the mostly meat and a super supreme, then I'd be talking about this problem right here. Okay, so I'm going to look at the bottom of the page now. So it gives us the diagram, the circle diagram, because I can't add, let me change my color here. I can't add 1/3 and 1/6 because they have different denominators. But I notice that they are related because 6 is a multiple of 3, right? 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so 6 is a multiple of 3. They're related. So that means that one of my fractions, and that's the 1/6, is going to stay the same when I rewrite my problem. The 1/3 is the one that needs to change. So that's why we're looking at this circle diagram of 1/3. We know the 1/3 needs to be rewritten as 12ths. So we find the relationship between the 3 and the 12. It's a times 4. So that means that the relationship between the 1 and the new numerator has to be a times 4. 1 times 4 is 4. So my new fraction that is equivalent to 1/3 is 4/12. 4/12. Okay, now I can simply say my units of 12ths will remain the same. And if I add my numerators, 4 plus 5, I get 9. So I could say that the amount of pizza left in the combination of mostly meat and very veggie is 9/12 of a pizza. I can go ahead and do the second problem. Let me clear the screen. Okay. So now I'm going to look at this one. 5/12 plus 1/6. I don't have a circle diagram on my page for this, but I know that the 12 is a multiple of 6 because my multiples of 6 are 6, 12, 18, 24. So I know 12 and 6 are related. The larger one, the larger denominator, is going to stay the same. The other one, the 1/6, has to change. And we want to change it into 12ths because then it would match the other fraction. The first fraction we started with at 5/12. So I can do a little circle diagram here. Find the relationship between the 6 and the 12, and it's times 2. So the relationship between the 1 and the new numerator has to be times 2. 1 times 2 is 2, so my new fraction is 2/12. I'm just going to write a little 2 up there to remind me that that isn't a 1/6 anymore, it's a 2/12. I could even put 12 down here if my finger lets me. Let's see. All right, I know that my answer is going to be 12ths because the denominator stays the same. My units, which is my denominator, doesn't change. I'm going to add the numerators though, and that makes 5 plus 2, because 2 is the number that I got as my new numerator. 5 plus 2 is 7. So the total amount of pizza left, if I was adding the super supreme and the very veggie, would be 7/12 of the pizza left. All right, let me do one more example. So this time we're going to look here. So I'm doing 1/3 plus 5/12, which is mostly meat plus super supreme. My first step is to see if my denominators are related. Okay, is the larger denominator, the higher number, not necessarily a larger denominator, but the denominator that is a higher number needs to be a multiple of the denominator that is the lower number. So is 12 a multiple of 3? Well, we've done that several times so far. We know the multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, 18. 12 is one of the multiples, so yes, they are related, so I can use the steps that we've been using today. I'm going to leave the fraction, oops, that's supposed to point at the 12. I'm going to leave the fraction that has the 12 or the higher denominator. I'm going to leave that one alone. It doesn't need to change. But the 1/3 needs to change. And we want to change it into 12ths so that it matches the 5/12. We have a circle diagram. I find the relationship between 3 and 12. 3 times 4 is 12. I use that relationship of times 4 with my numerators. 1 times 4 is 4. So now, instead of adding 1/3 to 5/12, I'm adding 4/12 to 5/12. I know that my 12ths won't change. My 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay. All right, so we have gotten all these combinations. We're ready to look at the next page. How do we get to the next page? There we go. Okay, so this page is a little distorted, but I think you can still read it. And we're not really using the stuff up here, we're just looking at the step up. So write the fractions so the denominators are the same. Use the diagram, then write your total. All right, so my first step is, number 1, see if my denominators are related. And they're related if one is a multiple of the other. So 10, that's a multiple of 5. So I'm good to follow the steps that we've been talking about. Remember, the fraction that has that higher denominator, that's the multiple, it's not going to change. So I'm just going to write 6/10 here because that fraction is going to stay 6/10. The fraction that needs to change is the fraction with the lower denominator. So I'm going to put 2/5 in my circle diagram because I need to change it so that it's equal to tenths. My relationship between the 5 and the 10 is a times 2. So I use that relationship in my numerators, times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm going to go back to my problem over here. And I'm going to, instead of writing 2/5, I'm going to write 4/10 because I just found out that was equivalent to 2/5. All right, and then I'm going to come back up here. I know my answer will be tenths. And then to find my numerator, I just do the 4 plus 6. I get 10. So I get 10/10. And because we're experts, we know that that is equal to 1 whole. So I'll just give myself a little arrow saying that's the same thing as 1 whole. Okay, and I'll go over to my next problem. Do this one in blue. All right, 2/3 plus 8/9. I need to make sure that my denominators are related. 9 is a multiple of 3, so they're related. I'm going to leave the denominator that has the higher number, leave that one the same. Oops, that's a 9. Sorry. All right, and the 2/3, that needs to change. And the 2/3 needs to change into 9ths so that I can add it to the 8/9. All right, the relationship here is going to be 3 times 3 makes 9. So I'll use that one up here. Times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Now I can come back over here and replace the empty fraction that should be 2/3. I'm going to call it 6/9 instead. And then I can solve my problem. I know the answer will be in 9ths because my units don't change, but I'll add my numerators, 6 plus 8, and I'll get 14. I'm an expert, so I know how to change that into a mixed number. 14/9. How many groups of 9 in 14? There's 1 group of 9. How many leftovers? After I take 9 from 14, there's 5 leftovers. And my units don't change, they stay 9s. Okay, so this one reduced 1 and 5/9. If you don't reduce your answers on the next, on the problems that you're going to be working for me on the assignment, they'll still be correct, but I'd like you to try if that's something that you can do. All right. Let's see our next page. Oops. All right, so this is the assignment that you're going to work on today. It is in the Google Classroom. You should be able to input your numbers and I can get your scores back to you. So I'm just asking you to do these 6 problems today. And we will work on another math lesson on Wednesday. I hope this is going to work out for you. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always put a comment in the stream. You can, I think, put a comment on the assignment. And those are ways you can get a hold of me. Other ways I might be I'll be calling and trying to Google Meet with a bunch of you this week. So, all right. I miss you guys. Good luck.